Now, before I even go deep into this, I just want everyone to understand not everything is AI.
Right.
That's the first and foremost thing I just want to get clear out there. So, a lot of what you're seeing out there is machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's the results of machine learning that people are using as AI.
Continuing our second episode with Ray Ortega from Grata Software. This is our CEO series where I interview CEOs from around Central Florida area. And I had the opportunity to sit down with Ray. We had a great conversation about where Grata Software has come from in the early days to how he's expanding now. And I had to cut it into two pieces because this part I thought stood on its own. We had an amazing conversation about AI and the things that he's doing with his current clients and solutions that he's building that I needed to make it its own episode. So enjoy. Well, I want to get back to the AI conversation we
Yeah,
had before. I know
absolutely.
this is kind of a, not the same conversation, but
Yeah.
prior to us jumping on here, we had a great little short conversation about AI. And I think it's going to be valuable because you're actively helping companies with solutions that involve AI. And AI is all the rage, or mostly still the rage. And
Yeah,
everybody thinks that AI is going to take everybody's jobs. And, there's so many things floating around.
absolutely.
I think AI is good, and I think that it can be really bad.
Mhm.
There's a spectrum there that still has to be sorted out for different applications. From a marketing agency standpoint, we use AI a lot.
Yep.
It helps us for brainstorming. It helps us to get first drafts going. It takes a lot of time off of the table that we can get to the actual good stuff.
Yeah.
Where us as marketing strategist or putting together messaging specifically, we can
Mhm.
get to the really good stuff that's going to be compelling for our client's audience. And that's
Yeah.
what marketing is all about, is to get attention, get awareness, all that kind of stuff. So I've seen where AI can be hugely beneficial. And I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on AI, how you're applying it to your current clients'
Yeah.
solutions, and kind of where is that going from there.
Yeah, so absolutely. So AI, we've been working with AI for several years now. Before I even go deep into this, I just want everyone to understand not everything is AI.
Right.
That's the first and foremost thing I just want to get clear out there. So a lot of what you're seeing out there is machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's the results of machine learning that people are using as AI. It's really predictive analytics. Um, Artificial intelligence is basically just the purpose of artificial intelligence is it's making decisions artificially without the need for human interaction. Most, if not all, organizations out there that are doing AI don't do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's always a human person in the middle, somewhere in there. And as we were talking earlier, like for instance, like how we're using AI, the way we use AI with our clients is we're trying to solve a specific problem with our clients' technology, right? So you could say AI is a very good pattern recognition tool. So for instance, right now we're talking about this platform that we're working on with athletes, right?
Okay.
When athletes go out there and they perform, right? We're looking at, okay, what are the different stats? We look at the stats of all the athletes, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's a specific pattern. Athletes that come from a specific location, specific grassroots programs, so like all of these based, and then with their stats create a pattern.
Sure.
And what we do is we label that pattern, right? But that's specific to like the sports industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're doing with AI. We're our clients are in an industry, they have specific data,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're using their data in order to do pattern recognition so
Right.
that we can determine what decisions can be made off of those patterns,
Gotcha.
right? That's kind of the crux of the AI that we're working on,
Okay.
right? But there's still a human element to it. So it's not fully artificial. Um, that's the thing that what's his name, Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI,
Mm-hmm.
that's what he keeps talking about, this $1 trillion investment that he's trying to do. He's trying to create completely autonomous AI
Okay.
where there's no need for human element. The thing is that artificial intelligence is really just a big math problem. If you've ever gone and taken algebra or statistics, you'll hear regression analysis. So regression analysis, basically, if you've ever seen that formula, y equals mx plus b,
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially the fundamentals of a regression analysis. It's essentially like you have a pattern of objects or things and data, and then you try to line them up to a specific line, a specific slope that goes from point A to point B, right? That's single regression. Then there's multi-regression where you see like charts where it has like a wave to it, right? And then there's even deeper. You can get to multi-level multi-regression. All AI is basically a bunch of neurons, which are nodes, kind of like in your brain, you have a node, and that math is in that node,
Okay.
right? So every node is performing that mathematical equation, and you're just creating weights on each one of those nodes, and those nodes are feeding into other nodes, what they call hidden nodes. And by the time, and then it comes out with a pattern recognition, and
Hmm.
that's what you see at the back end. And then at that point, you have to have some logic that says, based on this pattern, these are the decisions we want to make,
Hmm.
right? However, in order to be able to do it correctly, you have to have a very, very complex condition, which in coding we call those if else statements or switch cases. But with AI, they're trying to do it where it's not if else's and switches, it's using a whole nother artificial way of doing that.
Sure.
So, and that's kind of going really technical. Like I told you, I was going to get really
Yeah, no,
technical.
that's good. That's actually, it's very technical beyond my comprehension initially, but also probably the most simple explanation I've heard so far.
I
Um,
hope that's because
I, I,
I
I,
try to explain it to people in a simple way
it's
because
yeah, it's made it more approachable.
yeah. So if you think about that, right, then it's a math problem. How many times are math problems are 100% accurate?
Right.
Especially complex ones, especially when you're filling in. Now, math in general, everyone says math doesn't lie, but yes, but this is not a simple math problem.
Right.
These are
It's
like
not
complex
arithmetic.
math problems. Yeah, it's not regular arithmetic. It's a bunch of sequential math problems, and the data has to be accurate to begin with,
Yeah.
right? How much of data out there is accurate?
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you
Exactly.
feed all of these, let's say, large language models with all of this internet information,
Yeah.
where a large percentage of it is false information. You're
Right.
just teaching false information to the machine learning model. Therefore, anything that you use, you have the potential of getting bad information.
That's right. But
But
in a client application like what you're talking about with your own private, uh, you know, pure data, then
yep,
you have a different set of solutions.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why when we focus on AI, we focus on the solutions for our clients' AI. We're
Yep.
not focused on the generative or the larger ones out there, or all these chatbots, and because all that stuff is just. In fact, do this in your own company. Type in whatever. Say you want a marketing copy for a product that you want to sell. Yada yada yada. I bet you the first word is going to be the word unlock.
Yeah.
It's going to be always the first word, unlock,
Yeah.
because the machine learning, it's just feeding into itself. Everyone's using the tools and refeeding
Yes.
the same learning model with the same information it just spit out,
Yeah,
because
you're right.
everyone's using it now.
Because we've been working on some stuff recently, and it came back with that
Yep.
that term. It didn't do it every time, but it definitely was part of the set that it gave me.
Yeah. Unlock will always, it's going to show up. I
Yep.
guarantee it.
Yep.
And it's because it's been used so many times in marketing that now it's just, that's the term that
That
AI knows
ubiquitous
is that's the
term that it's getting fed to itself.
yeah. So if it was true learning, AI
Mhm.
learning, it would change it up a while.
That's
It would
right.
change it up a little bit. But it doesn't.
I've experienced that because I'll use Chat GPT and I'll say, give me three ideas or three examples of whatever. It'll give it to me, and initially it looks, wow, these are great, these are brand new. And I say, okay, give me 10 more, and it will basically give me 10 more versions of the same three.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then it's
So,
like, okay, I see the
yeah.
capacity it has.
So, and that's why, like for us, for Grata Software, we focus on using AI to solve our customers' specific problems for their industry and what they're
Mhm.
doing using their data that we can control, that we know is accurate. We can clean it, and we have total control of that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I gave that example of like the sports thing. The sport, that's actually a real solution. Like we're actually working on an AI model. We're working on an AI solution that'll help colleges determine recruitability of players that they're
Okay.
coming up through the system. High school and travel basketball and all that kind of stuff. All that because, again, I coach travel basketball, so
Yeah.
it kind of like one of these things is as I'm sitting there doing my thing, I just come up with these ideas like, oh man,
Yeah.
this is how we could use this to
And you
optimize
sit in the
decision
perfect seat to
making.
figure out how to actually do it, which is really cool. You can actually go and do it and not have to
Exactly.
think about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Kind of like the app I built, right? Like, oh, you
Right.
need this. Ooh, I could build
Yeah.
that. It's like, so that's kind of where that comes from. That's what we were talking about AI. That's the AI solutions that we focus on.
So that's really cool, and I didn't expect to have this conversation with you, which I think is fascinating because I've been talking with a couple of my other clients about AI, sort of anecdotally, and we've come to this conclusion that is exactly how you're presenting it. That is, I think the play for AI now and increasingly now is this private data mining private data and basically utilizing it for competitive advantage in whatever
Mhm.
way.
Yep.
So it's cool to see that you're actually doing these things. I'm
Yeah.
curious to know, are you building um, from scratch, or are you taking off the shelf models and adapting them?
It's a great question because we actually looked at building it ourselves versus the off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with building it yourself is power. You need power, you need resources. To build a whole model from scratch is kind of crazy. The amount of power that you need, the amount of resources you need. In
Okay.
fact, you can use, like, Google has a phenomenal suite of models. They're not pre-trained. They're like models that you could use, and you can, as a service.
Okay.
Call it AI as a service, I guess,
Yeah.
because that's really what it
Yeah.
is. It allows us to use their mathematical algorithms to create our own model with our own data. And we're actually using it right now for another tool that we're building, that allows us to write. Basically, it's a system that you, as a social media person,
Mm-hmm.
an influencer, whatever, you can actually, this thing will write out scripts based on certain parameters that you give it, on your industry, what you're trying to sell, all this kind of stuff. And so we actually decided to build this model ourselves. So we went into Google. We're using Google Gemini, right? Before, we were using Google's other platform before it switched to Gemini. And the thing is, um, it takes, like, we do the model, and to train it takes hours. And that's that we're using an off the shelf platform. We're using
Yeah.
a service,
Yeah.
right? So just think about that. We're
Yeah.
using a service, and it's taking us hours just to train this model. Like, literally left it overnight to
Yeah.
train it. But it's better to use the services that are out there. The reality is, all the algorithms and all the models are really owned by the top tech companies,
Sure.
right? Microsoft, Google,
Because they have the power to invest in building them from scratch.
yeah.
That
There's a
makes sense.
reason why Nvidia is, like, killing it right now, right? Because all of the processing needed for
Mm-hmm.
AI, they're providing those. They're
Yeah.
providing all of all the video cards now are providing processing for AI. You
Yeah.
know, um, so that's kind of that's that whole situation with that. Yeah.
So a specific question then, and
Mhm.
you don't have to give names or or numbers, but I'm curious if you could give an example of a practical application of what we're talking about here, because I think this would be very, very beneficial for the people who are listening when everybody's thinking about AI, talking about AI. Here we go. We're talking to someone who's a practical, operator. If you could give an example of just off the shelf, like type of business that could utilize AI inside of their data sets to improve what, right, for
Yeah.
what outcome.
So, perfect example, and I'll just throw something simple: lawn care. You
Okay.
know, so lawn care. What happens with lawn care, right? Normally, you have to go out, use at different seasons. You provide lawn care for, like, maybe once a week or twice a week, depending on what
Mm-hmm.
the season is, right? You probably have to, it's probably just set, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we know we're gonna have to go out this time, this time, this time.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you can capture data of every time you go out and do lawn care, whether they actually needed the lawn care at that point or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can capture all that data, put it into a machine learning model. Then you can have a decision making process where it literally says, like, these specific customers on this specific day is a better opportunity for you to go out and do your lawn care for
Mm-hmm.
these customers, because they actually need it on these days, right? And then
Right.
these people need it on those days, right? The thing is, what that does to a normal layman who doesn't know how lawn care works, it's probably like, yeah, what does that do? Well,
Mm-hmm.
to the lawn care company, how much money will they save if they have their trucks going out at lesser times, because they
That's
know
right.
exactly when they need to go out, rather than going
Yeah.
out there. Like, my lawn guy shows up at my house, and my lawn hasn't grown because we've had straight up sun, no rain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he just came out. He
Yeah.
just wasted his gas, his time, and everything to come
That's
out and
right.
check out and then he's not going to do it today. So guess what? He says, Ray, we're going to do it every 2 weeks until your lawn picks up.
Or we're
Right?
going to optimize your schedule based on our data, which is
Exactly.
going to benefit you, the customer, to potentially pay less,
Mhm.
but get the benefit when you need it, and put and operate and optimize for us internally for efficiencies. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's just a simple, like, that's just one off the top of my head. Like, and this is
Yeah.
what I do all day. Like, I literally do this all day. Everything I'm in, my mind's optimize, optimize, optimize,
Yeah.
optimize. So I'm every step of every process, I'm thinking, oh, how can we make this more efficient? How can we, and that just
So
happens.
optimization is really how it today. In the future, how do you see it being used? Kind of considering this private world.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I think I will be dead before it's actually we're fully optimized.
Oh
I,
yes,
I don't think
of course.
I think
There,
people are just not ready for it. I think people
sure.
just don't understand it, and so they, I think that's why I feel like this can go on forever. Like there's
Yes, of
always
course.
going to be things
I
to
can
optimize.
totally see that this is the beginning of something that we won't see the end of.
Yeah.
But to use an AI marketing term, how do you
Mhm.
unlock the next level, right? Like, is there another layer to be unlocked in terms of the multidimensional aspect of what AI is capable of?
Um, that's a good question. Unfortunately the next level is fully autonomous,
Okay,
and
okay,
but in all honesty, I don't want to see that
yeah, it's
as a
really
kind
hard
of
to.
as a programmer, engineer. I don't want to see it for two reasons. I don't want to see it for number one, a lot of people, a lot of cohorts of mine, a lot of friends and people that I know in the industry, we're all going to have to find something else to do,
Yeah,
But the problem is not even that. It's our society is going to have to find something else to do
hmm,
because when it's fully autonomous,
yeah,
no matter if it's wrong, by the way, it'll never be 100%. It's never. I mean, look at all the models now with all the money that's
mhm,
being spent. I think the highest percentage is 80, yeah, 86.6 or something
yeah.
is the highest percentage of accuracy. But like,
Well, I'd say my take on that. I'm not as bearish on that idea, just because I've heard this term called a knowledge worker. You may have heard it, where it's someone who has to be. It's sort of like someone who's manning the robot at the manufacturing line. Well,
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
people's jobs, but there still has to be someone there.
mhm,
It's that concept with AI that there has to be knowledge workers there to sort of hold the leash, but in addition, at the same time, I think AI is already doing this too, and it takes away a lot of the things that a person could actually aspire to be more than, right? So, like, if I'm a
yeah,
marketer, I don't really want to spend my time with all of the down the tranches type of, copy and different things. If I could get a lot of this low level stuff taken care of, now I actually start at a new low level,
yeah,
which is actually a high level, and I could progress and become even better
yeah,
at what I do. Now I know in engineering, it's you're literally typing, ones and zeros type of things. Um, so maybe it's different, but I think this idea of leveling up that knowledge worker that's either training AI or is working apart from AI
yeah.
to just become a better version of what they already are.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And if that maybe I misread the question, but if that's what you were talking about, I could give you an example.
Yeah,
That app that I built over the weekend that I was telling you about for the travel basketball program, like that app was like 50% me, 50% ChatGPT
that's awesome.
because I know what to ask it because
That's
I'm
right.
a programmer. So I gave it a very specific task,
Hmm.
a very specific language as to how I wanted it to write the code, what results I wanted out of it,
Hmm.
the optimization of the code itself. Like I wanted to make sure it wasn't just writing a bunch of stuff that would be like duplicates or whatever.
Right.
And I even gave it the example of the exact framework that I was using and everything that normal people when they're using it wouldn't know what to say or what to put in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gave me all the code, and then all I had to do now was use my experience and just read it
Yeah.
and verify, and then just determine what I did like or what I liked
That's
or
right.
modify it, and that's all I did. So
Yeah,
I
it
spent
leveled
a
you
good
up.
amount of time doing that, and it leveled up my programming skills
Yeah.
because it was doing all some of the things that I would normally have to do, and it was taking care of it for me.
Yeah. In
So
sort of a linear way or stair step way, I look at AI that it is sort of two dimensional in that way, that it's like other things that have happened in the past that have taken things that we've done before off of our plate and allowed us to level up what we're doing and even enjoy what we're doing more. I think that it is multidimensional. It's not just that. It's sort of like Bitcoin. It's not just a store of value, if you believe in that or not.
mhm.
It's these other things,
Yeah,
potentially. But I think AI it has the likelihood of being all those things, so it's not similar to previous advances. But I think at minimum, I think we can look at it that way. We can look at it two dimensionally and say, hey, it's giving us the opportunity to be even better in our domain. And I think that's what actually chipped off our conversation before, was we were
yep,
talking about this idea of how do you implement, like, how do you care about AI? Do you get off in the whole, the space of AI? No, I think that you have to, your domain. Mine's
mhm,
marketing, yours is software. and how does AI have an application inside of your domain. And I think that we both agree on that, and I think what you're executing on with your clients is awesome to see someone actually doing it, because I've been talking about it over here and theorizing. Is you're taking that to the next level, and utilizing it for private data to affect some kind of outcome
Yeah.
internally.
Yep.
And I think that's an amazing application. I think there's lots of money to be made in enterprise, especially for companies like yours. A lot of opportunity for clients to receive the benefit of that being provided.
Yeah, and what's funny though is like for us who've been doing this for a while, like we've already seen this path.
Mm-hmm.
This is the path we've been on, right? So it's really funny because ever since ChatGPT has made it out to the market and it's all over the news, um, there's a misconception of what AI is used for,
Mm-hmm.
right? The reality is most of us who've been in the industry for years have been using AI the way you just mentioned it. We've been using that the way we're doing it. We've been doing that
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah.
We've been, in fact, you should follow this girl. Her name's Noelle. Oh, what's Russell? Noelle Russell.
Okay.
Noelle Russell. And she's from she works at one of our larger competitors, but
Okay.
Accenture. It's like
Okay. Yeah.
they're more of an enterprise tech company, so they're not
Yep.
really our competitor. But she works at Accenture. She's a Microsoft MVP in AI. She was a Java programmer years ago, and she was building the basically what was the beginnings of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Back then. She's now a huge advocate for AI. She loves it, and she's all over the place. She speaks at almost every major event, travels everywhere. You can find her on LinkedIn. She's connected to me, so you can contact her and
Cool.
even let her know that I sent you over. But
Yeah.
she's amazing person, man. And we've had this discussion about AI, and it's like, and we've been our understanding of how to use it has been around for a little while, and it's just the fact that it's being advertised, from the media perspective, is being advertised as like, look at this new crazy thing and
Yeah.
look at all the stuff that it can do. And it's funny, if you ever sit around engineers at a round table when all of this news was coming out, we're all looking at each other going like, yeah, so
Like
like, like we've been doing this for like this is
it,
like the whole like generative AI, like the actual large language models. Like if you
right.
understood the actual way the large language models work,
Right.
you probably wouldn't be as excited about
No. 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 No.
you'd probably be like, really? That's what
Yeah.
it's doing? That's the reason why I'm telling you, like the word unlock is going to show up, because
It's not as magical.
it's not as magical as people think it is, but it's, but it is what it is, right? It's a selling point. And it's funny. And let me tell you something real quick about a client of mine, it's like when all this stuff started coming out,
Yeah.
client called me, he's like, hey Ray, are we using AI? How are we using AI? And I'm like, well, we're using machine learning. We don't really have the full AI,
Yeah.
on there, but we're using machine learning in your product. He's like, yeah, but it's using concepts of AI, right?
Yeah.
I'm
There's
like,
one.
basically what you want to do is you want to put it on your,
Yes.
you just want to
Yes.
market your
Yes.
application as AI. I said, listen, it's using components of AI. You talk to your guys and
Yeah.
your marketing guys, and you use it however you want to.
That's hilarious. That's
But
hilarious.
yeah.
Yeah, you give the public a portal into something, and it's a new thing to be marketed. So,
Yeah, like when blockchain came out,
yes,
that was a whole nother. It was like
so
the same
crazy.
guy saying, "Hey, are we using blockchain technology?" It said blockchain is built off of private keys and public
That's right.
keys. I said, so every authentication system on every application built in the last 10 years has been using blockchain
Yes,
technology.
yes,
And I said, so in theory, you're using technology that is blockchain oriented, but you're not in blockchain. And he goes, that's all I need to know. And the
yeah,
next thing you know,
yeah,
it's like, we have a blockchain
yeah. Oh
application. Like,
yeah.
no, we,
All he wanted you to say was, "Yeah, we've been using it for 10 years. Where are these people?"
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's kind of the dichotomy between like us who are in the trenches working on this stuff and like the
Yeah,
public perception
yeah,
of
yeah.
what's happening out there.
That's
So,
amazing. Well, we've gone way too long. Normally, it's like a 30-minute
dude, this
podcast,
is
and
fun.
so I
That's not
think what I'm going to do is turn this into a two-parter, because this AI part is really, I think, is its own set of value. But yeah, thanks again for being on, and we'll have to do this again.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely connect with me, because we definitely need to link up, because
Yeah,
this is
that'd be
fun,
great.
man,
I love
and
it.
what you're doing is awesome. And like I said, we're kind of focused on a lot of the same things. So
Yes, True.
And I think there could be something that we could do together to help each other out. So,
I would love it.
yeah, awesome, man.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, see you later.